What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. So yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is Warzone Mobile in the flesh. I did manage to do some things to, I guess, get my hands on it. I had to like make a completely different Apple ID and just set it up with Australia, just all this type of stuff to actually, play the game. And, it wasn't actually for the reason that you think. I didn't want to really play the game early, but at the same time, I just wanted to make sure that the progress that I had for my camel grind back in Modern Warfare 2 actually did track, and yes, it does track. So all the progress that I made in that game is actually going to be in this game as well. Unfortunately, first, they kind of had to put me through the training room, kind of like how if you start COD Mobile for the first time, they kind of put you through that little training room where it teaches you how to aim, teaches you how to reload, and all that stuff. Then after that, I was actually able to go to the menus to see if all my progress carried forward, and it did. So I, of course, had curiosity get the better of me, and I decided to just play a few games and see how this game works, specifically on controller. I wanted to get a raw idea of how this game currently is right now, because I know there's a lot of mixed views. A lot of people are saying like, wow, I could play this game now in 90 frames, and wow, this game looks absolutely crazy, or why doesn't this game look good on, Snapdragon type phones, or why is like the iPad or like, any Apple product so much better than Android? Trust me when I say this, every device I think is suffering, because right now I was playing this game on an M2 iPad, and this game is pretty rough, I will admit. So first off, I do want to talk about the graphics first. So of course, depending on what device you have, the graphics are gonna vary. But for the most part, with the M2 iPad, it's not really that big of a difference. I would say, like, if anything, there are some graphical issues, and even having it at the highest setting besides max, and putting it on, I guess, peak graphics, there was really no difference. And what you're actually seeing right now is the game running in peak graphics. I think the frame rate is also uncapped as well, so apparently it's supposed to be running at 120 frames, but I think that's bullshit, because I mean there's just so much frame lag everywhere. So the main optimization, I guess the pre-launch optimization update has not come out. There was an update earlier today to at least provide us the ability to use peak graphics as well as the the higher frame settings, but it still really doesn't feel that smooth. And I'm not doing any editing or anything like that. I mean, I have, like, the way that I run, videos on my channel is usually like 60 frames per second. But yeah, you could even tell right here, it just feels very rough. So I will admit, I mean, the graphics are good, but the frame rate does need to improve before the launch of the game. So now let's actually move on to the controller support. So I know a lot of you guys are curious on how the controller support actually works. So I thought I'd actually give you an opinion of how it feels within this game currently. So I'll admit, I mean, it's alright. It's not the worst, nor is it the best. I think the problem is that with the controller support right now, and hopefully it doesn't stay like this when launch date comes out, it's missing some options. And because of those missing options, I'm not really able to perform that well with the controller. And it doesn't really help as well that the frame rate keeps, fluctuating, so it just makes everything feel a lot more weird. One of the main missing options that I would say is probably the response curve. So this is something that's more or less, like, I guess something that is used in the main Call of Duty games, where you could set it to, like, I think default as well as dynamic, and I think linear or something like that. So basically what this does is that how you turn and everything, I guess depending on the setting that you have, it will either, accelerate or it will just stay the same. I think for dynamic, a lot of people chose that because it was a lot more consistent and your sensitivity wouldn't really raise at all. It would just stay at basically a fixed speed. So whenever you were turning around, it wouldn't like go at an accelerated speed, kind of like throwing you off. And that's the problem. We don't have that setting here right now for the controllers, so I kind of had to just deal with using this type of response curve that was just all over the place. Not only that, we didn't even have button layout options as well. We don't have the little bumper jumper or the tactical or, anything like that. So you were just kind of just stuck with the default. And the problem is that I kind of set my controller to stick and move, which basically means is that, when I have to press the right control stick, that's how I jump. Unfortunately, it blocks off my ability to mount in this game. So if there's ever a challenge where I do need to mount, I'm not going to actually be able to mount because the way that I have my controller set up, it kind of blocks that option for me. So if anything, I'll just have to play in the default mode until I could get those mounting challenges done. So there's no button layout options currently right now, but maybe that could change within the launch. But yes, the way the controller feels, it's alright, but it could use some work. Keep in mind, the sensitivity settings are a little bit more complex because there are sensitivity settings for every type of magnification. So let's say you want to set a sensitivity for iron sights, you can. If you want to do it for 3 to 4 times scopes, you can do that as well. It makes it pretty complicated. If anything, I'll just have them all bunched up together, just with the same sensitivity, because I think it would throw you off if one was higher than the other. But you do have the option to sync all of them together so they could actually have the same sensitivity, so it won't throw you off. They also have sensitivity multipliers, so basically, when you ADS, you could have it multiplied by 2. So for example, your ADS speed will actually accelerate even faster. So for example, let's say your horizontal sensitivity is at 11, and if you aim with a 2 times sensitivity multiplier, you're basically gonna be, I guess, having a sensitivity of like 22 when you're aiming. So it does kind of go all over the place if you do have that setting on. So I just recommend just setting it to the lowest setting so it won't do that, because there are also negative multipliers, so where you could actually make your sensitivity a little bit slower, making you aim with a little bit more control. I did not figure this out when I was actually recording, so that's why I'm aiming all over the place, but I did figure that out eventually, and it was a lot easier to control. But of course, with the response curve, that's something that I might have to adjust if they do not have any option for that in the future. So I had my iPad set to Australia, so basically I would have to play on their servers. But surprisingly enough, I did come across a lot of Chinese players. I'm assuming that they probably did the old VPN tactic for Australia, and honestly, I kind of don't blame them. I think that's really like the only country that's pretty close to them, or I guess relatively close to them. So I would say that they had a pretty massive, ping advantage over me. And I live in Texas, so I'm like way further. I mean, you have to like keep in mind the Pacific Ocean is between the US and Australia. So yeah, I am way further. The ping wasn't really that high, I would say. I mean, I was getting like warnings of like high latency, but that was kind of expected, even with the VPN that I had set to like Sydney. But I mean, it was still doable. I mean, I was still able to get kills, and pretty successfully as well. I'm not going to say that the Chinese players had any like major advantages like that, but I would say they were still killable. It wasn't to the point where they were basically invincible. So I did manage to get one of the guns gold that I guess did not finish up when Modern Warfare 2 was still, the main game. And I do have to say, like, I do want to, move on to the camo challenges part. One of my bigger worries was the fact that, if we are getting bots in lobbies, especially in multiplayer, I was wondering whether or not they were actually going to count towards your camo challenges. And based on what I've seen, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell who's the bot and who's the real player. Sometimes you could easily tell if they have like a Homelander skin or just something that's kind of like out of the norm. But sometimes it could be really complicated to the point where you don't even know that whether or not they're bots. And, I know for a fact that I think every kill that I got counted towards my challenges, even if it was for gold camo. So if there is a chance that there is going to be a bot in your lobby, don't worry. The camo challenge should still count. So for example, if that bot is your third kill towards the gold challenge, it should be able to count as well, thankfully. It's good to know that the challenges might actually be a little bit easier. Keep in mind, when the game first comes out, a lot of people are going to be adjusting. And that's the time where I would say you should take the most advantage. Because if not, if you come into this game like maybe a month or two later, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage where everyone already knows the movement, everyone knows how to aim perfectly. So I suggest playing the game right away when it comes out because, yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher in the future. But my overall experience was still fun. I enjoyed playing it for the little time that I did. Keep in mind, I turned off, or not, I turned off, sorry. I deleted the game. I just wanted to make sure all my progress was there. And of course, I did play a few matches, but I pretty much got the gist of how the game works and how it's going to function. But I rather just wait until the game fully comes out when, there's more optimizations because as of right now, it just feels extremely rough, and I rather just do it when the game's at a more perfected state. Wasted like $13 for ExpressVPN just to play the game, just to find out whether or not I had like my progress saved. It was stupid of me to do, but at least now I know. But yes, this is completely unfiltered. This is unedited. This is just the pure gameplay that I had for the game. So you guys, judge for yourselves on how the game looks right now. And yeah, I didn't want to steer you guys the wrong way. As you guys know, I usually keep everything real with you guys. And this is as real as it gets right now. So yes. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe for some more Warzone mobile content. I'll see you guys next time.